Bryan Kohberger, the 28-year-old accused of killing 4 University of Idaho students, making his initial appearance in Idaho on Thursday to face charges. As a newly released affidavit reveals, his DNA was found on a knife sheath at the crime scene, and that one of the surviving roommates, quote, opened her door for the 3rd time after she heard the crying and saw a figure clad in black clothing. The male walked past DM, that's what the roommate's known as she stood in a frozen shock phase. Here to react is Callahan Walsh, the son of John Walsh and co-host of In Pursuit with John Walsh. Good morning to you, Callahan.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Good morning. Well, thanks for coming on. What does the affidavit tell you?
There's a lot of details in there that are coming out that we were unaware of just prior to this. A lot of important details, but a lot of bizarre details as well. I think what's important is that they were able to initially track and find out who the suspect was by the vehicle. They had used a lot of surveillance in and around that home to see that this car was coming in at these late hours and leaving the night of the murder. There's not a lot of cars coming in and out of that area at that time. They were then able to use a cell phone number that he had been given when he was stopped at a traffic stop prior to that, to then use historical data to then place his cell phone in and around that house 12 times prior to the murders, meaning he was stalking this house. Then the information in the affidavit about one of the victims seeing him in the home, it's one more bizarre twist and one more bizarre piece of evidence in this already bizarre case.
You know, I remember as a child, we watched the Adam Walsh story, my sister and I, and we were very cautious when we were in malls and shopping. We were always close to our mom because of that. You and your dad went on to do amazing things and found America's Most Wanted. So many criminals are behind bars because of that. So you have a lot of experience in this. And also, as a mom, I'm always watching my daughter because I think about your brother. So as unfortunate as that is, you've changed a lot of lives and helped so many families around the country. So when you see that his phone was pinged at least 12 times, around that house, and then he came back the next morning, is that shocking to you, or do you see this often?
You know, what's unfortunate is it's not shocking to me. We see cases like this on America's Most Wanted previously, or our new show, In Pursuit with John Walsh. You know, these guys will go to any length to harm those that they want to harm. You know, we live in a world with a lot of great people, but there's still a lot of dangerous individuals, especially in this country. We live in the greatest country on the planet, but there's still a lot of dangerous individuals out there, and it's about the public fighting back, using the power of the public, us all being aware, coming together to make sure that we can safeguard our children and our loved ones. You know, it's hard to protect against a rogue lone wolf like this guy, someone who had his sights set on these victims, but we can come together as a society and help protect and safeguard those that we believe are our most precious, our women, our children. You know, we need to make sure that we can come together and try to stop anything like this from happening again in the future.
Most of us, before you're married, you live in a house with a bunch of people because you usually can't afford the rent. What do you think happened here when that roommate came out and she said she saw him, she locked herself in the bedroom after that, but she didn't call police?
You know, it's difficult for me to process that, and I think it's difficult for a lot of people to process that, hearing that information. We don't know what kind of state of mind she was in. And as you mentioned, she's living in this house. It's as quoted, a party house. You know, a lot of things going on late at night in that house. Did she think this was a prank? Did she think this was just somebody who was unruly and getting kicked out of the house? Was this a fight between friends? Who knows what she thought in that moment? I can only imagine how terrified she might have been. It's unfortunate she didn't call until noon the next day, but we'll learn more. You know, this is not something we're going to blame her. Do I think she's involved in this? Not at all.
Right,
However, we will find out more information, and that will come to light.
Yeah, hopefully they'll let cameras in the courtroom because we're all fascinated about this. We want to know why those 4. Thankfully, he didn't stab the other 2, but he came face to face with her and then walked out of the house, she says. So lots of unanswered questions still. But the cops did an amazing job. They were criticized by many, but then they were tight-lipped, and that happened to prove in their best interest. And now they have the guy behind bars, or the suspect behind bars at least. Callahan, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You can watch In Pursuit with John Walsh on Discovery+.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.